you take as little time as possible so that we can accommodate as many of you as we can. We ask only, first of all, you respect yourselves and then respect others, because we will not accept anything we deem that's not within our broadcast standards. But we encourage you to always be forceful with your point. Thank you all again for joining us. This is your voice in the community, talk that get results. Also, you can follow our live stream on our YouTube channel at Vaughan Radio, and you can follow us on our Facebook page at Vaughan Radio for the live video stream. Thank you all again for joining us. Your voice in the community, thought that get results. Tonight, the Honorable Spencer Brand, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo, and a very pleasant good evening to my fellow panelists, Edric W. Stanley. Good evening to all those who are listening and viewing this edition of the Let's Talk program. I want to say good evening to all those who are in our various hospitals here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and those who are seeking medical attention overseas. I hope that they would soon be up and about, certainly with the help of good medical assistance, prayer, and good care from our healthcare professionals. I want to say good evening to all those who are celebrating tonight, whether it's a birthday, a wedding anniversary, or some accomplishment in their life. Certainly want to wish them a very wonderful, wonderful evening, and I hope that they are having a wonderful time. Webbo, let me say good evening and thanks to you for the invitation, and I am certainly looking forward to the discussion tonight.
Edric W. Stanley, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo. Good evening to my fellow panelists. Good evening to the people of St. Kitts, and more particularly the gracious people of Nevis. Those who listen to us on the World Wide Web and throughout the Caribbean Basin. And, of course, further afield. Webbo, I was at the gathering of the West Indies, probably
Last Thursday
evening, and it was really a well organized and well executed program, and as a result I enjoyed every minute of it. Fortunately, I was able to carry a photograph which is almost 40 years to the gathering. At the same time, I gave it to Elko, our great first Leeward Islander, to break the glass ceiling, so to speak, and brought about quite a number of Nevisians, and also a few more others from Antigua at the same time. It was a good gathering, and I enjoyed myself. Immensely. It was really classy, and everybody was there. Everybody was there. And I'm glad that I was able to carry that photograph to El Comida with it, because I promised him many moons ago, I got this photograph and I will give him a copy of it. And I kept promising, and I walked up to the podium where he was. I said, promise is comfort to a fool, but I am here to fulfill my promise, and therefore this is the photograph. Of course, I was sitting there. It was Independence celebration in 1983. I brought a delegation in, and I was sitting in the front row, and also Banky Banks, Amari Banks' father, was sitting just below me in the photograph, and the Chief Minister, Osborne Fleming, seemingly he was aware that my cameraman would be taking the photograph, and he looked directly into the camera while I was somewhat
not paying attention.
You know, right? But anyway, I was captured in the photograph, and the Nevis cricket team at the time, including El Comida Willett, was standing in the back row. Fortunately, I was able to deliver on my promise. Webbo.
Webbo, I'm happy that Mr. Stanley mentioned the very classy gala last Thursday. I thought that it was a well-organized event. I know that when the Nevis Cricket Association approached the NIA last year for a donation for this event, it was an instant unanimous agreement in the cabinet that we felt that this was something that would be a very good gesture for the accomplishment of Mr. El Comida Willett. I want to take this opportunity again, as I did to him personally. Congratulations. I believe, Webbo, that his exploit as it regards to Nevis cricket, Leeward Island cricket and West Indies cricket, albeit short-lived at the West Indies level, and there is still not that explanation as to how come or why he was discarded from the West Indies team so quickly. But Webbo, I enjoyed the evening. I thought it was a very high-class evening. I want to congratulate the Nevis Cricket Association for, in my mind, putting on an event which was worthy of the occasion. 50 years of Willett's selection to the West Indies team. It was very good to see some of the greats of Nevis and Leewards and West Indies cricket. At Willett, of course, we have our very own Keith Atherton, Stuart Williams, Carl Tuckett, some of the up-and-coming youngsters in the game, administrative officials from the Leewards, and of course, Sir Andy Roberts himself was present. And I felt, Webbo, that the speeches, all of the speeches in my mind, struck a very good tone. I think that because of the nature of the man, I thought that all of the speeches really captured the essence of the man and where we have come as it regards to cricket here on the island of Nevis, in the Leeward Island. We know we are struggling as a West Indian cricket team, but I believe that the path that was paved by Willett, I think that we as a very small island have a lot to be proud of. A lot to be proud of. And I think that when we think about where we have come, you know, there were many talented cricketers who went before Willett, but for some reason just did not break through. But Willett was the chosen one. And I believe that Leeward Islands cricket never really looked back since. I thought that the likes of Viv Richards and Andy Roberts and Curtly Ambrose, Wrigley Jacobs, who would have come after, Keith Atherton, Stuart Williams, would have said to the world that we do have talent in these very small islands. And I am really happy that I was there to experience it. I want to say again, congratulations to Willett on his 50th anniversary of making the West Indies team. I think that he has done us all very proud. And I certainly, someone asked if he's only 50. Well, the way he's looking, almost look as if he's actually 50 years. He's in very good shape, in good spirit, and I am really, really happy that I was there to celebrate it, to see it, to witness it, and to say congratulations to the man himself. So Webbo, it was a really, really classy evening, and I think all kudos and celebrations is due to him.
Well, let me just add another little comment. Nevis is filled with raw talent. Not only in sports, but in education, academia, you name it, the whole 9 yards. And once we could find people who are able to identify those raw, talented people and harness, and the coaching, teaching, and guidance is given, we will always punch above our weight as a small dot in the crystal waters of the Caribbean. So again, congratulations to El Comida Willett, and congratulations to the many others who followed. Webbo. Let me continue. The Bank of Navies is going to hold on Thursday, I think, the prize giving ceremony to the athletes who participated at the Mondo track on just recently.
Saturday and Sunday.
And as a result, it is asking a lot of those who are interested, who understand what it takes to mold the young people coming up. They must step up to the plate, as the Bank of Navies has done, as the Navies Island Administration has done in the area of cricket, and the donation that they were given. At the same time, we hope that all these young people would be identified and be given the help that is necessary. Scholarships, they are abound based on how the Navies Island Administration has decided to mention and call upon the young people to wrap both arms around the scholarships that are available, and you can't miss it. I went to Social Security just the other day, and I through my earshot, I heard two young people talking about student loans, and they don't want to take on that burden of student loans. And I said, it is one of the best things that could ever happen to you as a young person. The government provides the assistance, and once you are able to understand your obligation and you've got the brain, this is the time to do it. You are given an opportunity to go on to institution of higher learning, put your head down, fulfill your responsibility, and you can't lose. It's a win-win situation. And as a result, I hope I was able to convince the two young people who are planning to go on to university or tertiary level to acquire additional education. So I told them, once you acquire the education, you will be compensated. You will be compensated in terms of your accomplishment, academic accomplishment, and therefore you would have no reason to worry about the loan payment, because you'll be in an educated position, getting a higher salary, through which you pay back the loan. When we were going to school as primary students, boy, these scholarships were available. They weren't available. And I'm saying to those who are listening to the mics of voices coming over Vaughan Radio this evening, I'm saying to them, listeners, encourage all our young people to do well and to go forward and to attempt to attain that higher level of education, and you can't lose. The government pays you to get a good education, subsidize you to get a good education, and if you are able to demonstrate the aptitude and take advantage of this gift, it's a gift. It's a gift. And I'm saying to them, parents, guardians, encourage all those who got the aptitude, the brain, to seek higher education, and they can't lose. The higher education, bigger pay, and from that pay, you can always pay back your student loan.
Well, while Mr. Stanley is on scholarship, just today, the Human Resource Office here on the island of Nevis would have published the availability of another scholarship, and it's the Improving Environmental Management Through Sustainable Land Management Scholarship. This is a critical area, Webbo, for these islands at this time, and it's an Improving Environmental Management Through Sustainable Land Management Scholarships 2022-2023. And some of the areas that are being covered under this scholarship is Geographic Information System, or GIS, land use planning, sustainable land management, climate change and or climate smart agriculture, or environmental management or ecosystem restoration. I outlined those various areas, Webbo, that is now being offered just today, just came online today, to say to our people, as Mr. Stanley is indicating, that there are opportunities. And I want to say to our people that the Human Resource Department, and it's a Nevis initiative, that I hope that our young people who are interested in any of these areas will take up these scholarships. There is one caveat between the age of 23 to 45 years, and basically they need to have at least 3 years of professional experience in the proposed field of study. So while those opportunities are available to us, I hope that our people will gravitate to them. They are in some very critical areas as we seek to develop Nevis and St. Kitts on a whole. GIS, the environment, planning, and those kind of areas. And I'm hoping that our young people between the age of 23 and 45, I'm out of that age, Mr. Stanley, will take on these scholarships. Mr. Stanley also mentioned about the inter-height meet this past weekend, and I was able to take in some of it on Sunday. And Webbo, I believe that here on the island of Nevis we have some very talented young people, and we keep saying it. We have some very talented young people, and we saw some very keen competition between the Gingerland Secondary School and the Charleston Secondary School on the track. And I want to say as well to our young people that there are opportunities out there at many colleges, many universities who are offering scholarships when it comes to track and field. And I believe that if you were to really apply yourselves based on what I know, the skill set and the talent that we have here, those youngsters can also achieve education on these track and field scholarships. So I want to congratulate the Bank of Nevis. I want to congratulate the organizers. I thought as well that it was a very well-run meet. I believe that the folks who are now managing and have control over the athletics season or period in Nevis, they are a well-oiled machinery now. They have been through this time and time again, and I think that they have a very well coordinated operation there, and I hope that it will continue to go from strength to strength. I know that it is this government's vision, Webbo, to construct the stadium. We are hoping that that will come in time, but separate and apart from the stadium, I think that the critical component of this facility is the surface. One of the attributes of it is that it was one of the newest surface anywhere in the world, and I think that Nevis is very proud and was very proud to see that surface being laid here. I believe that our athletes continue to have a first-class surface so that they can be in tune going overseas with a similar surface and perform well. So I want to congratulate them, and I wish them every success. Webbo.
Well, I listened to the former Prime Minister. This is the era of consumer, and as a result he gave a presentation regarding the obligation of a consumer and also the obligation of businesses and those entities that are geared toward packaging things for the consumer. At the same time, he mentioned that based on, well, he tied into his dissertation a number of items, global warming and the like. Brian.
Stanley, the issue of consumer as it relates to, well, if we were to take it, Mr. Stanley, in the context of what is going on globally right now, quote unquote, the consumer is having a much more difficult time in accessing a lot of what I would consider to be a lot of necessities. This war in Ukraine have really created a very difficult channel, so to speak, to a lot of necessities. A lot of wheat products it's difficult to come by. We continue to see the issues that we are facing as it regards to oil and those kind of products, because we know Russia and Ukraine and so on are some of the producers of those kind of products. So I think at the back end, the consumers are the ones who, in my mind, are feeling the pinch. And added to that, because of the unjust war, I call it an unjust war, unprovoked war, it creates a difficulty, and it added on additional inflation to a lot of countries around the world. And I think those are some of the issues that a lot of consumers are facing. Things that were much cheaper 2 years ago, and yes, we have had the impact of COVID, which would have created a different set of challenges on its own. But added on to that, this war now created additional difficulties for the consumer. I believe that while those challenges, and if we do what I call a SWOT analysis of the difficulties that we are facing, it can also create some opportunities for businesses, because it means that because some products are not necessarily easily accessible and available, it can create some opportunities for other businesses, perhaps right here in the Federation, in the region, to try and develop some of those products that are not so easily accessible and market them throughout the region. Caribbean is basically a war-free zone, so to speak, and I would think that if we really were to harness our collective creativity that we can get some of those products that is difficult to come by. I know it's going to take some serious investment, but I think that the time has come for the Caribbean to really, perhaps time has long gone, to look internal for a lot of their consumables.
Well, I was told about Barbados finding oil, which it is completely opposite to the direction in which we expect to go in terms of green energy. I recognize also that ConocoPhillips has been granted some, well, it is, the move is afoot for the granting of permits. At the same time, there are some protesters who are protesting that in this wilderness, the Alaskan slope should not be touched for oil drilling. However, those people have to face reality in terms of the mammoth findings of oil back in the northern region of Russia. That has given Putin a certain amount of leverage on global market and on the world for them to have gone into Ukraine and expect to sustain that war simply because of the quantity of reserve crude oil that they have already noted, and therefore I don't understand how Biden would be giving to ConocoPhillips the, well, not the green light yet, but has given them a nod toward developing that energy, that crude oil in the North Slope of Alaska. At the same time, is it because Biden recognizes that the United States must be self-sufficient in that side of the energy facet, and as a result, how would this play out while they're pursuing the green energy? Back to Barbados, I'm not so sure of the quantity of oil findings, but seemingly, since we are part of the region, a chain of islands, we too might have some residue of oil in our backyard, and it's only a matter of time after the big boys have already exhausted other areas, we will get our opportunity to be a global player in that energy. Where we are at this juncture, I'm not sure if we are able to lure some of the big boys like Exxon, Shell, and the others to come to our shores and do the exploration that is required to determine as to whether or not we are on that conveyor belt of having crude oil beneath our surface, within our waters. So, based on the fact that Barbados has discovered oil, it is very likely that whatever the components are it looks like it is getting more and more abundant, while the global players are attempting to go down the avenue of solar and other forms of green energy, wind, as the case might be. So where we are, and I'm hoping again that we can walk a tightrope in our region and ultimately beckon to some of those who are exploring for oil to come to St. Kitts and Nevis and see what we can do, see what we have, because we're part of the global chain, and if we are able to find, then it means that we are able to reduce our energy cost.
Sally, I think that all of these islands would definitely want to be free of this high energy costs. Throughout the Caribbean, that is probably the one of the largest outlay that governments on a monthly, on an annual basis in the last decade is the energy costs. For us in this region to really see meaningful and tangible and substantial development, the energy costs and the energy sector is going to have a big role to play in it. I think that Barbados, as was Trinidad, Guyana is of the same grain. It's all about energy independence. But I think it was just last week, right here on this program, I asked the question, even if Barbados were to discover this and harness this resource, will it really transcend into or trickle down to the ordinary man and woman on the street who will really receive the benefit? Case in point, we have seen Venezuela right in our region. We have seen Venezuela, one of a significant player in the global market when it comes to oil and oil reserves. But yet still, Venezuela is oil rich, but there's a lot of poverty, so to speak, as it regards to the ordinary man and woman in Venezuela. I think that oftentimes we hear about these discoveries and we are hoping that it would be the dawn of a new day and everything would change and so on and so forth. I often would basically stand back and pause and see if the ultimate beneficiary will be the people. We have seen it in Venezuela. Case in point as well, Mr. Stanley, the continent of Africa is mineral rich. Mineral rich. But yet still, there is so much difficulty on that continent because the wealth and the riches that has been discovered, and you name it, gold, diamond, oil, continent of Africa. Is it that the management of these resources has not been what it ought to have been and trickled down to the very people who need it the most? You speak about these foreign corporations coming in to do exploration. And again, yes, we would sign these agreements with these foreign corporations to do this exploration. And then perhaps they will take 90% of the profit and leave 10%. And these are the kind of challenges I feel that developing countries, I believe that Barbados, and I hope that they can probably discovered what they are seeking to discover and make the transition to the benefit of the people. But you are correct. We are now thinking going green energy, renewables. And it is kind of perhaps not compatible with what it is that the UN and all of those other organizations that is seeking to pour a lot of money into renewable energy and green energy. Barbados, as I said, is facing a difficulty as it regards to energy costs, and they would do, in my mind, whatever they needs to do to survive. But at the end of it, my concern is, will the benefit really go down to? I can see that there could be some benefit in terms of cheaper energy for tourism, manufacturing, those kind of things. But at the end of the day, could be cheaper energy for the regular household. You can see the energy cost and so on come down. Perhaps filling up your tank of gas on your vehicle would be half the price. Once those benefits really kick in for the people, then I think it will be worth it. But if it's not managed in the way that I think that it needs to, and the benefit is really passed on to the general population, that is of concern to me. And we have seen many examples throughout where we have heard of all of these discoveries, and we have seen many examples where large corporations, yes, they have the technology, they have the resources, but I think sometimes a lot of these countries are taken advantage of.
Well, it's based on government and government policies.
Yep.
And if you look at the way these islands were passed on in terms of independence, they all have an independent government, no longer tied to Britain, and as a result, decisions should be and must be made. They have in their hands, these independent governments, the mechanism and the tools to do whatever is necessary, to ensure that the ordinary man and woman get the benefit from these, whatever it is, and it is based on the decision-making process. If, for whatever reason, those who are in authority in terms of governmental heads or heads of government don't see the need for people, for the benefits to be passed on, it means that they would have abdicated the responsibility to the people. Fortunately, again, we are no longer under the rule of Britain, and all these islands have been given independence, most of them, and therefore they should, through their leadership, be able to institute policies that are consistent with the distribution of wealth from whatever the resources are that have been derived from the exploration process, identification process. Therefore, we can't blame the corporations who got their stockholders and they, in fact, have to look out for their stockholders who would have put up the money to do the exploration. At the same time, they must be able to be held accountable for the resources the economic resources tabulated in dollars and cents, quantified in dollars and cents, to the extent where they do their audit, they know what was made, and therefore make sure that you got laws that are consistent with the redistribution of wealth. And as a result, every man, woman, and child would benefit from whatever these companies would have dollarized in terms of the amount of money they would have been able to get from exploration, as the case might be. Let's look at Guyana. Guyana is a large country, and for many years it was not properly run. That country was never properly run. You brought in Venezuela based on what we know of Venezuela, a country flooded with crude oil. That natural resource should be able to turn every woman, man, and child, and to bring them out of the state of poverty, and to bring them into the 21st century. But it is not done that way simply because the state controls the wealth, and the people who run the state, they make sure the distribution of wealth or the redistribution of wealth
in the hands of a few.
In the hands of a few. And so, again, we've got the tools given to us by our forefathers, and as we emerge into the 21st century, we must utilize the tools and to bring policies that will create a redistribution of wealth onto the people. Station break.
You need a station break. This is Thought That Get Results. Edric W. Stanley, the Honorable Spencer Brand. When we come back, your phone calls on 1-869-469-1616 or 1700. We'll be back after these.
Builders Paradise is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. Builders Paradise has over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builders Paradise has what you need. Wow! Oh, and remember, we're open all day Saturday to serve you better. This is something that you can't refuse. Visit Builders Paradise today at the C.A. Paul Southwell Industrial Site in St. Kitts, or call them at 466-4938.
With all the power from the tower, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, VON Radio, from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Back in this episode of Thought That Get Results. Edric, why don't you ask Bran about the appeal in the case?
Mr. Brand?
Yes, sir.
The appeal in the case, as Webbo has requested me to ask you, where are we?
Where are we?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Stanley, Yesterday afternoon, I was served with some papers as it regards to the ruling of the High Court judge handed down on the 27th of February in the election petition, in the election of December last year.
December 12th.
December 12th. I got it 4:30 as I was leaving work. Seems that the bailiff was waiting for me, so we exchanged pleasantries, and I took the document. I really did not read the document yesterday afternoon, last evening, because I really chose not to allow anyone to disturb my rest and my peace. So I read the document today, and I handed it over to my legal team, and we would have gone through. I would have gone through it, and I read it today, Mr. Stanley, and I am a little concerned, because the document in my mind is filled with a lot of unsubstantiated and unfounded claims of bias on the part of the judge. I thought that that angle and that quote unquote that angle of attack, I'm not sure where they're going with that, but I distinctly observed that from reading the documents today. There seems to be just this unfounded, unsubstantiated claims of bias. I have gone through this process, Webbo, personally the second time, and would have contributed to the election petition of the Honorable Mark Brantley back in 2011. I am convinced beyond any doubt that I'm not certain if whomever is preparing these documents have an understanding of what it is that they are preparing. I am not a lawyer, so I am making that statement from what I have read, that there seems to be this misconception or this misconstrued of what the law is. Like I said, I'm not a lawyer, but I think that this is, like I said, this is my second election petition that I'm going through, and I think that I've read enough. I think that I have enough understanding to realize that, or come to the conclusion that I'm not certain if they understand what it is that they are doing. The lawyers, the matter is in the hands of the lawyers, and they will deal with it. And from what I am reading and from what I'm seeing, I believe, Webbo, Mr. Stanley, that as the judge would have made his ruling on the 27th of February, personally, I have not seen anything that would change that position.
Well, I recognize that these people don't want to accept defeat. At the same time, anybody who understands a little bit of law would have understood what the judge stated before he gave or he handed down his decision. And from my vantage point, the judge, in fact, indicated where he was going with the ruling. And as he ascertained and gathered the facts on which his ruling is predicated, I think the judge is in his legal and judicial right to have handed down that decision. Because if you were attempting to get into that door and the key should be pushed a certain way, a certain distance into the keyhole, and you didn't push it, you can't get into the door. And what the judge is saying in his ruling is that on the one hand, the person who filed the petition against you filed the petition late and realized from the judge's vantage point that the key just did not reach the area to have the mechanism to unlock the door, and therefore it had arrived. It didn't arrive. So what are they trying to say in your case, based on what I understood? The case is over.
That's my understanding.
At the same time, they want another bite at the apple, and what they need to do is to look at the law, the Constitution, the timeline, the timetable, go back to the drawing board. It's going to take them 5 years. You got 5 years to go back to the drawing board and to come again. So what they are attempting to do is to short circuit the process through which they can get another court to overturn the judge's ruling. And the judge is saying, if you file your case and you brought it to the door and you can't get in simply because you're 1 day late, the game is over. You can't, knowing that the date of a game is on the 14th of March and you expect to come to the game on the 15th. When you come to that particular venue, there's no one there. And therefore that should be able to tell you the game is over. Your game is over. So I do not know what they want to do, what they want to accomplish, but in my view, they cannot accomplish what they expect to accomplish, simply because I think the legal team erred. I think, based on what I heard from the judge, the legal team did not do what they were supposed to have done, and the legal team were not really novice to the game. Well, let me rephrase that. Based on the experience, what I understood, one of the legal team, member of the legal team, has 31 years in law practice. Another one, 26 years, law practice. So what happened? What did they do with the experience that they should have had over these 57 years of joint law practice? In my view, they have failed and failed miserably. At the same time, I listened to a quote this morning from the radio that even though you have not done right, I'm not using the exact words, and even though you have lost, you're still entitled to pay, to get paid. In a nutshell, that is what I heard. And I'm saying, how could you not deliver and good conscience expect to be paid? So what I'm attempting to say, these people, legal team, should not be paid.
So Edric, you are proffering that if a lawyer takes a case and loses, they should not be paid.
No.
If you make an evaluation or a bid or something that was not used, should you be paid?
A bid?
Not a bid, an evaluation that was not used.
For someone to get a mortgage, let me help you.
Okay, well, go ahead, Brand. Work with him.
You are attempting to compare apples and oranges, Webbo. In this case, I would have done my work, submitted my document, and expect to be paid.
Even if the person did not was not successful in
that had nothing to do with me. Had nothing to do with me. And let me say this. There is something known as malpractice. And maybe I should go a little further with that. If the judge finds that they weren't given proper representation, I would categorize it as malpractice, because you, as a lawyer, should know. At the same time, we know cases would leave the municipal court and would wind up at the Supreme Court of the United States. One side is right and the other side is dead wrong, based on the arguments. So, in that regard, if you have not delivered, which the objective is to bring victory to the representation that you're going to give to your client, and if the representation didn't meet the expectation, you should not be paid.
You know, Mr. Stanley, what I find interesting is that during the hearing on the matter to strike out, one of the lawyers used, and it kind of stuck with me, a statement that the judge should make it right, make something like that.
Yeah,
it is something that has always stuck with me. That, and I sat there and I say, well, I find that is an interesting statement coming from someone who, in my mind, has conceded that they have lost. Because here it is that this lawyer is saying to the court and saying to the judge, you know, you should make the matter right. We are appealing to you, so to speak, to make the matters right. And I'm looking at this appeal as if it's a another attempt to try and quote unquote make matters right. But I find that an election petition is a very specific procedures, and basically the judge would have highlighted those in his ruling. So I am at a loss as to how it is that in the hearing that they can be asking the judge to make things right or make it right. And it's appeared to me that this application for an appeal is another attempt to try and make things right. But how can you make something right when it started wrong in the first place?
Well, I heard that same plea from the representing attorney, and I said to myself, they're asking the judge to do their work. And the judge stated categorically he doesn't have that authority. His court, the court in which we all were, he doesn't have that authority to make things right which you brought here incomplete, wrong, out of order, and consequently the judge made the ruling predicated on the fact that it was out of order, it was not put together properly, therefore it was wrong, and I cannot rule to make it right. I didn't have the authority, and consequently I will not rule the way you expect me to rule, because you're asking me to do work for you. Although the judge is was a lawyer, or is still a lawyer, and as a result, the person who made the request for the judge to fix what was wrong knew that the judge could fix it, but he stated categorically that he doesn't have that authority. His court didn't have that authority, and as a result, the case was predicated on the incomplete application because of the insufficient information. What needed to be done wasn't done. So, in my view, the judge made the right call, and like I said, people who listened criticized me. At the same time, I know what I heard, and I felt inferences I made were correct in terms of how the judge was going to rule. At the same time, I said the judge can rule the other way. I don't. One person called and said, "You slept with your judge last night, and oh, you had dinner with the judge," and so on. I said no, but the judge could very well rule in the plaintiff's favor, but it doesn't mean that he will be right. And that point that you brought, in terms of they are asking the judge to fix something that is probably unfixable, let me, for the want of a better term, it was incomplete, wrong, and didn't meet the threshold of a completed application, and consequently the judge gave his judgment. So what are they attempting to do? Ask the court now, through the appeal process, to chastise this judge based on his ruling, that he should have been able to fix what was wrong with the application and ruled in their favor. No, it can't happen. Doesn't work that way.
Well, it will be interesting. I am certain, like I said, the lawyers have the document and they are scrutinizing it very closely. And I am of the view that, from where I sit and from what I have read, I am pretty confident that the previous ruling by the judge, but then again, but Webbo, it's I think that the kind of in my mind, the kind of attack, bias and so on, I think that for me, if that is the angle of attack, I'm not certain as to where they're going to go with that.
Listen, they could be charged with contempt of court,
Mm-hmm.
They could be hauled into court anyhow. I do not know. Did Dr. Brantley get another serving from the Marshal Bailiff?
Well, not up until when I got here. I don't know if by now I don't know. Not up until today. No.
So this case is over, but nothing is over until it's over. Now, based on cost, well, it's not over, so the cost would not be adjudicated yet. But personally, I don't see any sight of victory on their part in this regard. The subject matter, in my view, reached its crescendo, but I still want to carry on the fight. And I believe they're telling their supporters, hold on, we are still hoping against, well, the inevitable. They're hoping against hope, in my view. Well,
Mr. Brand, do you have a rough timeline?
No, not yet. Like I said, the document was served on me yesterday, and the lawyers have it in their hands today. So again, I guess that everything would move very expeditiously. So I think in very short order,
Next couple of weeks, we should.
We should be able to know exactly where this is headed or where it's not headed.
And the truth is, the procedure-wise, you also have this appeal process, the appeals court, and you also have another layer in the Privy Council,
yes,
correct?
Yeah.
Okay, what else we got?
the world, in my view, now is going down a dangerous, slippery slope with regard to China and the United States. There are a lot of people in the Caribbean here who don't like the United States of America, but it's a country that I...
Before you expound on that, what about the Haiti situation? Because we touched on it, I think, a week or two ago. The CARICOM
people came after us and they now saying that there should be a peacekeeping force. Although the fellow who called in a few weeks ago on our show stated that he was part of a peacekeeping force, and based on the information he currently had at the time, nothing has changed. But something has to be done regarding Haiti, the governance or the lack thereof, and ultimately bring a solution to the many other problems they got there. Again, it's based on leadership, policies, the distribution of wealth or lack thereof, and ultimately those with a certain portion of power, certain amount of power in small segments, have decided that they're not going to give up power, and as a result the mayhem continues. Human beings are suffering. The poor, the uneducated, the have-nots, those are the people who are in fact bearing the brunt of the burden. And CARICOM as a regional body the OECS as a regional body must find a way to address the Haiti problem and bring relief to those who desire relief. The world is on a banana peel, and as I stated, there is a general feeling that things are not going the way it should be, and God made this world in perfect order. Just gave man the will, and man is just mucking up things. There's a natural order. You know what is right, and if you do what is right, it can't go wrong. It just cannot. If you and I decided this morning, as we woke up this morning, that we're going to do right throughout the day, and continue to do right day after day after day, how could it go wrong? Can't go wrong. And we are in this world, God gave it to us, and where we are with reference to United States, Australia, Britain on the one side, and China on the other side. And China is now saying United States, Britain and Australia going down a dangerous path, not trying to pick the beam out of its own eye, to see that it is attempting to control the islands in the South China Sea. And in that regard, they are not doing things right, but they have to pick the beam out of their own eye and make a determination as to whether or not they are correct in what they're doing. And sadly, United States and its allies are on the one hand trying to tell China You must not help Putin to do something which was illegal. It's an unjust war. It's inhumane. And consequently, people are dying. People are suffering. People are starving. People are freezing to death. Doesn't Putin see? But he would be held accountable. He would be held accountable. I know that I've stated here the Brexit situation which Boris Johnson brought about on the British people. It was a miscalculated event. But they couldn't take a 180-degree turn simply because the people were misled. But this is what happens when people are not armed with the full bit of information for them to make a wise decision. And as a result, Brexit came about. Britain is suffering currently as a result of that terrible decision they made. And it looks like Donald Trump is going to get back in there. And I'm saying to you, based on what I see, if Donald Trump gets back at the presidency, he will attempt to tear up the Constitution of the United States. So, while the United States is so preoccupied with all these myriad of problems around the globe, Xi Jinping and Putin, now Iran, the Ayatollah, and what's the big man in Saudi Arabia, they're all going to gang up and attempt to poke the United States in its eye. I hope they've got the resources and the leadership to withstand these kinds of pressure. I gave the United States 100 years more to still be at the helm of global power. But it looks like things are going to unravel much faster than that, based on current events. I hope I'm wrong. The United States is a great country. The resources, it's filled with resources. And if the people elect the right leadership, they can't go wrong. So I appeal to all of you people in the United States to do the right thing and make sure Donald Trump does not get back at the helm of government, because he feels that with the presidency under his control, he can do anything and everything, including turning the United States into an authoritarian country. That is his aim. It must not happen. It must not happen.
Webbo, you raised the matter or the question of Haiti, that very vexing issue of Haiti. I often wonder, Webbo, that and question really and truly how much more suffering must the people of Haiti endure. We have seen over the many decades, numerous attempts to try and stabilize the situation in Haiti. CARICOM, UN, most countries would have sought to assist. But I find, Webbo, oftentimes when there is a sense of calm, a little bit of stability, the support mechanism leave the country.
Hello, good evening. Good evening.
Yes, good evening. You're on
And good evening, Stanley. And
Good evening.
I just tuned in. I don't know what on the program you did tonight.
Good evening.
Oh, hold on. Naya?
Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown here. Good evening, Mr. Brown here.
Good evening. How are you?
No, not too bad, not too bad. I'm here. Just hanging in, listening as usual.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to know why Haiti? Why Haiti? Haiti is a Caribbean country. Haiti is in the Caribbean. Earthquake, tornado, hurricane, all kind of disaster. Haiti meet up with her. I asked the question, why Haiti? And now other else country. That's the question I want to ask asking all the time. Excuse me. Well, look at the Caribbean on a whole. You understand? The Caribbean and the Caribbean leaders then, and to help Haiti. But Caribbean leaders them, so for them just as bad as the Haitian leader them. You understand? So we don't know how we don't get this thing work out. Because everybody got a problem. Look at the things that news down here. We got all the political tribalism down here with politics. You understand? And this thing, I don't know, we don't get this thing work out. Now they're talking about the Haitian them now, we got some Haitian here. And people calling, telling them that they give them asylum here in this country, that they could stay here. I have no problem with Haitians staying here. But let it come illegally and stay here. You know, let it come legal and stay here. Not illegally. Because it can put a situation for our young men and women who here don't can't go to work. The economy down right now, the whole economy down right now, which is happening in the Ukraine, which is happening in Russia, which is going on all over different parts of the world. We're not against the Haitian here, but let it come in legally. Let it come in legal. Not illegally, not illegal. And then when you look now, some people talking and saying all kind of things, them who got money, work in the federation, they don't open up the business for the ordinary people. So who gonna open up business when training come here too? I mean when the Haitian them come here. Everything is rams. When the ordinary man, millionaire man, they don't really sitting down for any money. I ask the question all the time that why they can't develop the back and Kelly. Back and Kelly had something going with two friends together. They were friends together, and the whole business until the business they retire. And these are the problem between in the world right now. It's not a matter about black and white and whosoever. If we do come together as one, the whole world got to come together. Black and white, Indian, Chinese, whosoever got to come together to get peace in the world. But many of us see this terrible life we're going on with. Stifle life we're going on with. Stifling in different countries. White are still white, black are still black. What kilometer in Ukraine? White are still white up in Ukraine, in Russia and Ukraine. You understand? So we got to get our priority right, man. The politician them here got to get the priority right too. Because when people let you in a government or whatever, and we speak out about what's going on in the country, you take the ordinary man advice, and the ordinary man who on the ground know what's going on, and some of them don't take their advice. But I just want to, Dr. Joe, as a young leader, listen to the people, because it's important to listen to the people, listen to the ordinary man. The ordinary man always got his touch. All right then.
Okay, thank you.
Some words. But you know, I think, well, God never made a mistake. He never made a mistake. But He has given us the will. And based on the will, we have decided what must go and what must not go. We all are God's people. And I would sound like a broken record. If you get up in the morning and you decide not to do anything wrong, and you do it the next day and the next day and the next day, we will bring back the world from the precipice. But at the same time, people look at their base, see how much power they can get away with, and they wield it against one another. That power, misused and abused, and ultimately the right doesn't come to the fore. The wrong propels and stays. Now, based on what has happened in Haiti and what continues to happen in Haiti, it's going to take a mammoth task to eradicate that problem of the power struggle that is going on in Haiti. CARICOM, United Nations, and other regional bodies come back to the table and let us try and find a solution. We cannot impose a government on them. The government has to come from the people, by the people, of the people. But at the same time, if you know somebody is corrupt, steer clear of that corrupt person. If you know that a person, although they might have money, try and avoid giving power to that person. But they had, was it Aristide, who was a minister, church minister, I believe. He, in fact, was there for a little while, and then he was found to be corrupt. I do not know what happened to him. He may have run away to one of the African countries. I'm not remembering my history. At the same time, there are times when you can pick a man of the cloth and bestow power on him. But we have done it in the past and we weren't correct. Or at the inception, it was correct, it was a correct thing to do, but then the person himself became corrupt, and consequently he was ousted by other people around him. So again, we have to find the solution to the myriad of problems that Haiti is currently facing. Where do we go? How do we go? You can throw a lot of money at the problem. Doesn't mean that it will be able to get the solution that is desired. So we have to look and see where we are treading and attempt to bring about the proper solution. In that regard, we all must pray for Haiti, remember Haiti in our prayers. The call brought in earthquake, hurricane, natural disasters, which I just mentioned, man-made problems, and therefore, no matter where we turn, the plight of the people still under a lot of pressure, and as a result, people being killed, maimed, and taken advantage of simply because we have failed as a region, as a community, to bring about the proper solution to the problem.
Stanley, I agree with you that the government should be of the people, by the people, and all that. It sounds good, right? And I agree with that kind of thinking. But let me ask you. I think that for the last 50, 100 years, Haiti have been going through turmoil after turmoil after turmoil. A lot of it is political. And yes, they have been faced with a number of natural disasters. They have had some very devastating earthquakes that have really caused havoc on the island. But I think that's a greater portion of Haiti's difficulty has come from politics. I feel that for us to really see meaningful change in terms of the leadership in Haiti, it probably would take another generation, right? Probably would take 20, 30, 40 years. But I think that the UN, the Commonwealth, CARICOM, I would like to see that there is a quote-unquote 25 to 50 year plan for Haiti, right? And in that 25 to 50 year plan for Haiti, there must be serious consideration, Mr. Stanley, for an outside administrative authority that govern the affairs of Haiti, almost like an international government, so to speak. And while that is in place, could be in place for a period of time, but while that is in place, CARICOM, the Commonwealth, UN need to be able to bring together a number of young people, train them, get them educated. It's almost like indoctrinating them into leadership to take over their country. You speak about some who have become corrupt. I am not. It is all based on your foundation and the principles in which you find yourselves in, to try and stand fast and not get yourselves corrupt and into corruption. It's almost as if we now need an outside force to it might sound out of order, but we literally almost have to now begin to indoctrinate young people in Haiti to do the right thing in order to take over their country. I think that there need to be, in my mind, a multilateral, force. Well, force may be a bad word. A multilateral agency, organization, so to speak, to administer the affairs of Haiti for 10, 15, 20 years, while you begin to breathe into young people how important it is to stand firm in the interest of their country. And I believe that during that period, global powers must be prepared to literally rebuild Haiti, because Haiti is, quote unquote, a failed state and needs rebuilding. I think that a lot of times we see earthquake and issues in Haiti, and you get all of these pledges and donations and so on, and as soon as the camera is switched off, nothing much change. So I think that there need to be that long-term commitment to the redevelopment of Haiti. I strongly believe that perhaps there need to be an international governing agency to manage the affairs of Haiti for a good decade, while you inspire young people to take over their country. You have to deal with the poverty in Haiti in order for this gang and this crime and so on to because, listen, Haiti, like I said, Haiti is an operation for the next 25 to 50 years to help move the people along. This is not going to be something that's going to happen overnight. It is going to take a steady, committed approach from the international community.
Well, I looked at Afghanistan. United States spent billions of dollars over a 20-year period, maybe a little longer.
And Russia was there before too.
And no matter what they did, they had to leave. Donald Trump is the one that started the process of the United States departure. Biden had to complete the process. At the same time, based on what happened, because of the internal policy of the Taliban, Afghanistan never caught itself, and they've gone back into the 7th century. How blind could these people be? They don't see the progress that Afghanistan made. Let's bring the same thing to Haiti. You can throw a lot of money at a problem, doesn't mean that it would solve the problem. At the same time, the 50-year plan that you talked about can be less than 50 years to get 2 generations.
So who you say are going to direct this international administration or governance or guidance?
We are just making some suggestions.
Yeah, well, in your suggestions,
So
who
I'm
you
just saying to
suggest?
you, we have to look at and become pragmatists and see how we could inculcate young people, identify them at an early age, nurture them, educate them, and ultimately keep them on a certain path, guide them along a certain path over a period of 50 years. That's a timeline Mr. Bryan brought to the fore.
25 to 50 years.
25 to 50 years. And I'm hoping that we will be able to ameliorate that problem that currently exists in Haiti. It's not easy to guide people, nurture people, but at the same time, we can't just throw up our hands and say we have given up, because the human suffering that has taken a toll on the majority of the poor shouldn't be tolerated, but at the same time there is very little we can do. We cannot just impose a government or a governing body on the country of Haiti without getting the support of the population of the people.
Okay, so how you propose you get that done? Because they've been trying to do that, haven't they, over the past 100 years?
Well, what I'm saying is, it is likely that Haiti is a cursed country. They have to bring back religion into the better or the larger population. They believe in Obia, which I don't believe in. And that might be one of the problems too. The devil is playing a major role in guiding the people down the wrong path, and consequently he has had decades, maybe 2 centuries of success. So, well, we can't do anything with the devil. God has to deal with him. But as Mr. Brown mentioned, let us attempt to bring some period, 25 to 50 years, of mentoring, nurturing, guiding, teaching, molding, as the case might be, to 2 generations of people. We identify certain people and we keep them in harness from a multinational administration. A multinational administration, we identify people and we...
How are you going to choose these people? By going in and say you, or you're going to have a vote or something?
Well, it has to be a democratic system. Has to be a democratic system. And as a result, people who are of like mind would see the benefit that can be derived of the mentoring, the nurturing, the molding, the guiding of those people. And, well, you have to bring God back into the country. How prevalent is Haiti with reference to church, faith-based society, a faith-based society? Haiti, in my view, seems to have gone down the wrong path. There are Catholics.
There are any other islands in the Caribbean that seemingly to you have gone down the wrong path?
Well, at the moment, we know that Grenada at one point was going down the wrong path. Luckily, Ronald Reagan brought it back. The amount of...
I see. Let me take this. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good evening, Mr. Webber.
Yes.
And your guest.
Good evening.
Lady, I thought of you.
Listening with interest. Obviously, we don't know history. You know, America occupied Haiti for years. I think in 1950s. I forgot to what year. Are you aware of that?
No.
Oh, because I listen to this conversation, so it can be that you all know history.
I must admit.
It just cannot be. Haiti has been exploited. You understand? So you can't send back in who have them so. Because just like American boys, when they go in for their corporations. When people were getting 50 cents a day, America was controlling Haiti, you know. And of course, once they have force, you're forced to comply. So when America and Canada offering to go in, everybody's suspicious because the economy need a boost. And Haiti has cheap labor. Trapped in Iraq. The companies over there waiting for another place to go where they could make profit. So even if they're not going in for the interest of the Haitian people. Are you aware of that?
That is correct. The thing, as I think you rightly said, is that we need to research and understand the reasons why certain situations exist.
Yeah, and the French kept Haiti in poverty by demanding reparation for the land. And I couldn't believe that when they said they finished the other day, 2015, they finished paying from an 1804 war. You see what we're talking about?
Right, and then you have to take into consideration the way the people are wired.
You know, so I would, by the way, Haiti has universities, eh? I met a young man from Haiti's university at the IMF. So it is not all of them so. And the Catholic Church, they owe them an apology. Because that was predominant, eh?
Carter, could I ask you something?
Yeah?
Could I ask you a question?
Yeah, the Catholic Church.
The way Haiti is at, it is evident that it did not start the way it is at. In other words, it took a little time to get where it is at, correct?
Yes.
You see any other areas in the Caribbean that if we don't put a check, that if we don't put a check on somewhere down the road?
I believe CARICOM could do something. You see, the truth is, I don't think anybody asks the nations what they want. Everybody knows what Haiti needs, but we have not sought to find out what it is they really need. Because if you keep getting leaders who are sponsored or supported by the USA and other European countries, USA, France, all of them, even Canada. Because Canada is just all the pigs now, just down here, right? All the high blood pressure you get belong to Canada. And all the saltfish. I mean, CARICOM is supposed to find out, become a black like them, motivate. I have always said we should have sent a lot of these graduate students we get knocking about down here can't work. We should have sent them as volunteers, just like you had the VSO and the Peace Corps, into Haiti long time. You were pumping them out. Barbados overloaded. So we have not supported that. And in terms of the governance of the country, I mean, what they have is, you call it class. So you now have some young people, those who have armed themselves. We should find out from them what it is exactly you're trying to achieve. What exactly are you trying to achieve? I don't think anybody asked them. Have you heard anybody asking them that? Because they exercise a lot of power, you know, over the whole country. What it is they want. That's what America wants. America looking for market for the goods. Canada the same way. You know, and so, I mean, CARICOM owe it. We owe it to find out from the people what exactly are you looking for. How do you go about getting it? rather than the imposition of foreign powers on them. All right then.
Okay, thank you.
Before you go,
I'm here. Go ahead.
you ran through my mind, and I said I haven't heard you in a long time.
Oh, you're still man.
Yeah, okay. It's good to hear you.
Yeah, man. Man going nowhere.
Okay. Praise
You know
the
what I mean?
Lord.
I turned 75 on last Tuesday.
Praise the Lord.
Happy
So by
belated birthday.
400.
Happy birthday.
Happy belated.
Yeah, you know, but investigate the history of Haiti. Haiti didn't bring itself, dear son.
Thank you.
You know, international powers, everybody scrambling for Haiti while the Haitians looking on. All right then.
Thank you for the education. We are about to embark on that development.
Let me take this first. Thank you for holding. Go ahead, please.
Could you say something about the British American case in Trinidad? Thank you.
The British American case in Trinidad, unfortunately, the court ruled against the policyholders. And in that regard, I think somewhere along the line, I do not understand how the court could rule against the policyholders who paid their premiums over a long period of time. CLICO, if my memory serves me correctly, was the receiving agent.
Yeah, but what you have to do is put it into perspective and what case was brought.
Well, who brought the case, Webbo, is important, and it looked as if they left the policy holders holding
Holding the bag.
the bag, empty bag.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, this specific case that just got the ruling, what was it all about?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. This particular case, to me, based on what was sent out, dealt with something specifically in that the Trinidad and Tobago policyholders were paid by, I think, an intervention with the Trinidad and Tobago government.
Yep.
And the others in the islands,
Nothing.
they were not paid, and so I think they sued on the basis of
Discrimination.
bias, yes.
Yeah.
And that is what that is all about. And my question, therefore, is that can you have a different case going forward to still be able to retrieve the monies?
Well, the thing is that Trinidad has to protect its interest, and I could understand why they have protected their interest. But Trinidad was the home of CLICO and the parent company. Trinidad received the bulk of the money and therefore had the resources to pay out. At the same time, in my view, they were obligated to pay the other policyholders, but has chosen not to do so simply because the case was not properly filed. Now, what needed to be done, in my view, is for a blanket coverage and lawsuit, class action suit, coming from all the other policyholders from the other islands.
But that's what it was.
No, what
no,
you're saying, what you're
It was a
saying,
class action suit.
yeah, but it will only involve seemingly, based on what you are telling me, the policyholders of Trinidad.
No,
And Tobago.
no. Based on what you conclude.
Okay.
But that's not what I'm telling you. Why does everybody always want to? Bran, you wanted to finally say something?
Yeah, I must admit I wasn't paying too much attention to that situation. It almost sounds, Webbo, that perhaps the persons who would have lost in court may now need to probably focus their attention. Could it be that something might come against the government of Trinidad and Tobago? Seeing that they would have taken care of their policyholders and the rest of the region left holding the bag?
Well, somewhere along the line, somebody will.
That's the last word. This program repeats tomorrow at 10 o'clock following the VON News Minute. Join the Honorable Matt Brantley tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock for On Demand. Thank you all again for joining us. This is your voice in the community, thought that get results. You all have a wonderful evening.
Views and opinions expressed by the preceding program were solely those of the participants and